I accepted the fact that I was probably going to die. And if I did, so be it. Because at a certain point in my life, that when you continuously try on a regular basis and continuously let yourself down all the time, you come to a place of no hope.
Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Kuda. Today we are sitting down with Sonny for the second time. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. In our previous interview, we spoke a lot about pre-18, younger age growing up. We are going to carry on moving forward from about 18 years old. By this time, you had stopped playing sports. You had started getting more involved with using as well as selling to make more money. And my questioning was, how does your life change from 18, early 20s, because you're making money now? You're in the streets more.
Along with trying to make money, there was the substance use and the drinking continued, and it got progressive. It led me to, further away from not having any kind of responsibilities in life, lots of different relationships, and doing, in with that, a lot of choice in friends that I was involved with. And as time went on, realizing that the substance use actually became bigger than I would have thought it would have been, to the point where, it was about money to some degree, but it was also about using as well. And the more that I found myself to be drinking and doing drugs, it continuously progressed, daily, weekly. Right. And then of course, relationships, were another big part of it. Not really being close with any of my family members at that point, except my mom, which was, sick herself. That I didn't really, I kind of was starting to come to the point in my life where nothing really mattered. Kind of feeling like I was giving up on myself a little bit.
Okay.
I still continued to try to always do better, is what I told myself. But always kind of would get to that point where I would try to stop using as much as I did. And then, it could have been, a week to 2 weeks to a month, even a couple months, until, my thing was when I drank enough and when I got too intoxicated is when something triggered me to not want to drink anymore, to do drugs, in order to stay awake. Right. It was like an automatic reaction that for some reason the alcohol and drugs mixing together it came to a certain point in my life where I didn't really need alcohol anymore for me to want to use cocaine. And once that came in my life, in my early 20s, around the age of 25, realizing that it got way out of hand, that I hit my first detox at 25 years old. Wow. And that was because of a relationship that I was in for about 5 years, that I kind of felt that, she was like a big crutch in my life, that she bailed me out of a lot of bad situations.
Okay.
So with a lot of her suggesting, in order for her to stay in this relationship, that I had to make a change. And so I did that decision based kind of on trying to keep this relationship, and went to my first detox at 25.
Yeah. That's an important decision to make, actually. I can see what you're saying. You're not necessarily doing it for yourself, but rather you're doing it because of the relationship. and that's why sometimes it can either work, or sometimes maybe it will struggle to work in the long term. But
Right, and and that wasn't like, the decision that I made was more or less, was always trying to do it for other people.
Right.
Like, back growing up, like my brothers would say this, or my mom, and so I always tried to, I was good at people pleasing, and I always kind of would, okay, I'll try it, but not really too serious, not really knowing, not really wanting to, just kind of like, okay, I'll do it type of thing, just so people would get off my back,
Okay.
because I was always good at avoiding problems and not facing, life on life's terms, in a sense of dealing with responsibility, and always when, trying to avoid confrontation,
Okay.
because there was a lot of fighting in these relationships, and I felt that, in order for that to stop, I would just go and do it. But always kind of like in the back of my mind, I knew that I didn't really surrender to the fact that, okay, I really couldn't see myself drinking or not doing drugs for the rest of my life. But you know what? For the week, I can try it, just to make her happy and make the other people happy. Sure, I'll try it,
Yeah,
is what I always told myself.
when how old were you when you first got arrested?
When I first got arrested, I must have been, I was about 20. I mean, I had been, picked up for like, like, drunken in public
Okay.
places, and little things like that. But until I really started to get jail time and incarcerated, I was about 30, 31.
30, 31. Okay.
Yes.
This is after you'd already tried to put some effort in through detox. You tried.
I went to detox, and I managed to stay sober and clean for about 1 year. The first time I tried it,
Okay.
actually, and then after that, from like 26, from 26 to the ages of about 30, 31, I went right back to the same old patterns, same old things, kind of in and out of recovery houses, and treatment centers, and and then I went through this one place in New Westminster when I was about 29 years old, and I managed to stay clean for 2 years. And about just around like 26, 27 months, I went through a bad relationship breakup. And when that relationship ended, the first thing I did was go out and use. So when that happened, when I picked up my first charges around 31-ish, all the way to the ages of 38. I did 6 years on and off,
Okay.
incarcerated. When I think about it now, I miss my whole ages of 30. I was on 6 years. I was out. I call it, on a relapse for 6 years. On the street, hotel rooms, jail. I didn't attempt to go back to recovery. I didn't try to go back to recovery houses or treatment centers. I didn't care anymore. I had given up on all hope. I accepted the fact that I was probably going to die. And if I did, so be it. Because at a certain point in my life, that when you continuously try on a regular basis and continuously let yourself down all the time, you come to a place of no hope. And, it's a pretty sad place to be. Wandering the streets for, down here in Surrey for like about 5 years. And nowhere to go, no fixed address, too much ego to walk in to try to get social assistance, yet, living on the streets, looking in the mirror, telling myself that, I looked good, the false pride. And what had happened was when I was 38, when I was about 37, I had gotten out of institution. I got out of jail, and I ended up leaving Surrey for a little while, and I went to a different town, and I picked up where I left off, the same things I was doing in Surrey. And I had picked up 14 months, and I was out for about, when I got out there, I went back, I stayed in the same town, and then I was out for about, I was like 30 or 40 days, and then I picked up another 18 months. And then something happened to me on my 18 months while I was inside. I was still using in jail, like, you know, not my drug of choice, but like anything, you know, you can get your hands on, you know, weed and and people's medication and stuff like that. That at a certain point came that something happened one day in jail where I had started going to some programs and I had started going to some meetings in jail, and like AA and Narcotics Anonymous come inside the jail once a week for meetings, and you know, when I started to go to meetings and I was getting eligible for parole, I had made the decision in jail, because every time I got out, I always made a couple of phone calls and I went right back to what I couldn't wait. When I knew I was getting out, it was like a, you know, a kid at Christmas time. I was excited, the anticipation, the anxiety, the thrill of being able to go out and use again was so powerful. But before I got out, I knew that if I didn't change now, that when I got out I was going to do the same thing, because there's a saying that they say is, you know, continuously doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. Well, I had surpassed that point, that I knew that if I got out and I didn't make that decision before I got out, that I was going to continuously do this, and I was tired of living on the streets and I was tired of living in jail. And when I got out, just before I got out, I got granted parole. The first time, about the 14 months, I got denied parole because I wasn't doing programs in jail.
Okay.
I was still doing the same old, like, just doing nothing in jail, just sitting doing my time. And then on the 18 months, I got granted parole. And when I got granted parole the second time, a light went on, and it was like I felt like the parole officer was giving me for the amount of work that I was doing, taking programs, going to meetings. I guess it all got noted in jail. And it was like they gave me a second opportunity at life.
Wow.
And I know in a weird way it sounds like I never met this lady before, but I remember the day she came in and she had told me, she sat down and started asking me questions about what I would do if I was granted parole. And I started saying, you know, I wanted to get clean, and I was going to do this, and I was going to do that. And for once in my life, when I always was good at saying, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but I never did any of it.
Yeah.
I was always good at lying to myself. And so anyway, so when I left that room, I felt really, it was like somebody believed in me, because somebody was gonna give me, I felt like I had a really good shot at getting parole, and I told myself that if I got parole, that I was done. That if somebody, I guess what I'm saying is I felt like somebody saw something in me and gave me an opportunity to have a second or third or fourth chance, like here, getting out and doing something different for once. And the day came that I got paroled and I got out.
My question to you is, were you more tired of using and being an addict, or were you more tired of selling and being arrested? Or was it just a combination of both?
I'm going to say that's a combination of all of the above.
Yeah.
I was tired of feeling alone. I was tired of feeling like I was wasting my life away. I got tired of sitting in a jail cell. I got tired of trying to convince myself that I could be a clean dope dealer. I got tired of always looking over my shoulder, you know, lots of encounters with the police. I felt like I was just tired of living my life by somebody else telling me how I was going to live my life, because I had no choice. And most of all, I think that what really did it for me was I was tired of feeling lonely, and I wanted a better way to life. I had finally had enough, where I had made that decision that no matter what it took, that when I got out, I didn't want to use anymore, and that happened. And ever since then, it's been since January 1st, 2011, so 10 years, and I've never used any substance, and I've never had to retract or go back. And for once in my life, I feel like, for once in my life, when I said I wasn't going to do something, that I've accomplished that.
Wow.
And within that comes a lot of integrity, a lot of happiness, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's an amazing feeling when you can finally, you know, feel like I'm actually doing what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know.
I wanted to ask, you, when you're coming out, you've made this promise to yourself, like you shouldn't go back anymore. Do you try to connect with anyone who you can say to, like, look, I need extra support? Maybe your brother, your mother. Is there anyone out that you're like, now that I'm out and I've made this promise to myself, I can now reach out to this person because I know deep down I'm asking for the help?
That's a good question. When I got out, my mom was very sick, and I got out, and around 18 months clean, just before my 18 months clean, my mom passed away. In that time, I got to see her twice when I got out, and I woke up one morning to a phone call at 5:30 a.m. that I didn't know my mom went to the hospital. She was really sick, and she had passed away. And since then, you know, I do have two brothers and three sisters, and one of my brothers, we talk to a certain degree, but I don't talk to any other family members. I think, to be honest with you, the one thing that I rely on most is the friends that that I've met in the last 10 years, and some that I've known for longer than 10 years, and that have still been clean and sober for 25, 30 years, even though when I went out for 6 years, and when I came back, they were happy to see me, and they made me feel part of, and they made me feel missed, and they made me feel loved, and they make me feel that, like, when I have anything going on in my life, like, I have a whole list of friends in my phone that I could call, and they would stop what they were doing just to come and either talk to me, or, you know, which I do. I call and we talk about certain things all the time. Not like so much about a lot of things. I'm not as crazy as I was maybe in the first couple of years without you know, coming back, they say. But yeah, I have a lot of personal close friends that I look at like family.
Okay.
And the relationship that I'm in a 9-year relationship. I have a beautiful stepdaughter in my life. I've been with the same woman now for 9 years. And her family has, like, taken me on, like, I'm I'm part of their family. Yeah. So that's also an added support in my life. Yes. So.
While you are being clean and you're coming out of jail, do you go to a recovery or a treatment center? What kind of support in terms of from mental health support or addiction support do you get?
So when I got out, the stipulation of me getting parole was I went to a treatment center.
That was a
so I went right from jail to MRTC. I went to a treatment center.
Okay.
And then in there I had some counseling. We had groups, and I stayed there for about 2 months. And then I had to go to a halfway house for about 2.5, 3 more months, and then I finally got off parole. But I attend 12-step meetings. I actually work in the field now, and I have, I'm a peer support worker, and I have counselors that I work with also. So there's a lot of people that have a lot of knowledge around addiction that I feel that I can go to if I need, because I also need, sometimes I need help from others too, even though I work in the field. It's, it can be very stressful at times too, and in certain situations I get stuck in and that I need help as well, and I have a lot of those people that I can go talk to.
Before we finish off here, I think your story is it's more complicated and more interesting because of the journey of being involved in criminal life as well as being involved in the addiction itself. And these are two different struggles that some people just face alone, right? Someone is facing struggles of just being in and out of jail. Someone is facing struggles of just addiction itself. For you, having to be able to conquer both, it must be, maybe in hindsight, if you sit back and look at it, like even a bigger blessing than just conquering one. But I'm wondering, like, the kind of mental strength it takes for someone to be able to say, not only am I fighting addiction, but I'm fighting life of crime and coming out of both of that. What kind of advice would you give to someone who's facing a dual battle?
I think that, so growing up, when I, if we could backtrack for 1 second, growing up, when I seen let's say the friends that I was associated with, and when I seen the cars and the gold and the money and what they had, and when I wanted that, and when I was growing up, had I had somebody that would sit me down or just talk to me about knowing right from wrong.
Okay.
And obviously sometimes a lot of things look really appealing, but also you have no idea of what you're getting yourself into. Because I don't care who you are or how much you do or how much you sell, there's always that time where nothing ever lasts forever. And so the most of the people that I knew or were part of are either incarcerated, they're in jail, or they have extensive criminal records where it's only a matter of time before they go back. And for myself, when let's touch base to the question you just asked me about conquering, I don't think that I'm out of the woods yet. I don't know if I've conquered too much so far. I mean, I feel like 10 years is a really cool number. But this is like a live life thing for the rest of my life that I can only tackle on a day at a time.
Wow.
Because who knows what's going to happen next week, next month. I mean, there's been a lot of things that I've had to stay sober and clean over in the last 10 years, like my mom passing away. That was a really sad time for me. I've been through a couple relationships before I got into the one that I am. And that was the biggest thing for me, was learning how to have healthy relationships with friends and females. Because, I have that nature to be very codependent, and that sometimes I don't know how to live life by myself. I always look for somebody outside of myself to make Sonny feel better about himself. And most of the time that was always a female. That would build my self-esteem up enough in order for me to be looked upon and feel better about myself. So I think the key to success for anybody is to be able to learn to love yourself before you can love others, or offer any support or help through others. It all starts with you. And I guess, so the life of that, to be on that side of the fence for many, 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 many years, and to be on this side of the fence, no matter how much I have on this side of the fence, because I don't own houses and cars and this and all that kind of stuff, but I never did then either. I had some things then, and I have some things now. But I'll tell you, for myself personally, and being homeless on the street for many years, and also living in the fanciest place ever, it was always, you never knew what you would get with me, Yeah. One day could be this, one day could be that. I could be here, I could be there. It didn't matter. That the best thing that I could possibly say, that this side of the fence, if you can get on this side of the fence, and you had a little bit of stuff on this side of the fence, hands down that this side of the fence is way better. And with that, when I say better, is feeling good about yourself, regardless of how much you have in the bank, what you own, what you're doing in life, is just being okay with you. And
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind. Why I'm touching on that is because, the amount of youth, early 20s, we've lost in the last 2 months alone From 14-year-old to 21, we're losing them to gun violence, right? These are some people who don't even get to live to tell a story like you're telling us right now, who don't get to be on this side of the fence, right? Because they don't live long enough
To make it to that side.
to make the other side of the fence.
I agree, yeah.
Right. Some people that are not making it because of the life of selling and being involved in the crime. But then some people are actually dying earlier because of the overdose, because they're young enough that they don't even understand the idea of overdose.
Because what you're talking about, that age is a lot of those youth it's a lot of delusion, and there's a lot of using.
Right.
People using people in order to make money for them, to act like, that they're your bro and you're this and you're that. And really, they have motive. There's anywhere in life you go, there's always an underlying motive of why people use people. And it's just sad. I would say that, if for me, if I could turn back time, I would never have, I would have made better choices.
Earlier.
I just didn't know any different.
Yeah. Right. Oh, that's a powerful point. You did not know any difference. So I hope through your story that that 23-year-old who's driving in that brand new car ABCD can actually understand that, well, though I'm driving this nice car, I still have to look over my shoulder. Understanding that the idea of peace of mind that comes with having to not look over your shoulder is more appealing than driving a fancy car and still not knowing who's chasing you or who's behind you.
100%.
Right.
Because that person chasing you might not catch up with you that day.
Right, exactly.
But they will always catch up with you at some point.
And if not them, someone else will.
Somebody else will. And it always happens. And it happened to me numerous times. And I've been in lots of fights and stabbed and lots of chases and all those things that there's other people that I know have been a lot worse than I have been.
Of course, yeah.
But my story was great enough for me, in order for me to say, okay, I've had enough, because I just didn't want to live my life like that anymore, and I knew that I would still be able to. It was never too late in order to change your life around and start to feel good about yourself and make better choices, where that you can still have the same respect as most of us are looking for at that age, but just look for it in other ways.
I'm just wondering if you can tell me, you said something that was such a simple statement, funny, but so powerful. You said you were watching baseball one day, and then you realized, like, hey, I don't have to rush to go and sell dope. I don't have to worry about my phone call reeling up. I'm just chilling. You woke up in the morning. Yeah, tell me from the moment you woke up.
Yeah, I know it sounds so simple, but yet it was so. It was like a moment that I had.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of them here and there, but this one was back in the summertime, and I remember I had, I was at home, and I was laying in my nice big bed, watching our TV, and I was thinking about, like, the window was open, I had the fan, it was really hot outside, it was a really hot summer day, and I was watching the Blue Jays game, and I remember laying there, and I had the fan on me, and the window was open, and the sun was coming through the window, and my girlfriend and my daughter, they were out, and nobody was home, and I was just laying there for once, and all of a sudden it dawned on me, like, it was just so quiet. And I was so quiet that I could hear myself, like, think about, like, for once in my life, I wasn't out running from somebody, I wasn't out fighting, I wasn't out having to meet somebody to sell them something or to buy something from them. I didn't have police knocking, or, well, sometimes I didn't have a place for police to knock, they would just come and find me. But at the end of the day, I guess I could say that, like, I just didn't have any chaos going on in my life. And nothing else mattered around me, that it was just me with a roof over my head, a peace of mind, content. That I was happy with just being in the moment, because it was so out of the ordinary not to have that chaos going on in my life.
Wow. Wow.
And I'll tell you, I know it sounds funny, but it's one of those really I've never forgot about the way I felt in that moment. And that's part of why I do this, and I continuously do this, because I get those moments from time to time that I'm not caught up in the chaos anymore, and I'm not ripping anybody off, and I'm not lying, and I'm not stealing, and I'm not fighting, and I'm not selling something to somebody to ruin their life. And for me, I don't know, like, it's just life seems boring, but it's so amazing. It's awesome at the same time, because I like it. For once, I'm happy and I'm content.
You know, you just said something that is, it resonates with me a lot, because growing up, my dad is like, you know, you don't sell drugs, because you sell drugs, you're ruining someone's life, and we don't know what you're talking about. We don't know what they're talking about. But that point alone is like, yeah, this is what the person meant. This is what my dad meant. You sell drugs, you're just helping a person to ruin their life even further.
You're selling that poison that just ruins somebody else's life.
Yeah.
For $20, $100, $200 at the end of the day, you know, you're helping killing somebody.
Yeah. But
And I'm just gonna touch on one thing though before I know we're gonna end soon. It's like when I was in the hype of my using, I was never around when all this like fentanyl and all this other stuff was coming out. It was back then, it was just heroin. And I know that like there's a lot of people dying from it. And I know maybe this story might not touch most, maybe it will, I'm not too sure. You know, when asked upon to try to help out in some situations, I always say yes. When we talked about agreeing for me to do this was just for the simple fact that, hey, like, you know, if I could be a part of something, I'm more than willing to help in any way I can. But I know one thing, you know, if any youth are watching this movie or video afterwards, and you know they can laugh and they can, you know, you can say whatever, you think you're invincible, you think that you can, you know, you can get away with anything and you'll never get stabbed, or, you know, high-speed chases, or connected with the wrong people at the wrong time, or you might try that drug with that one time that you just might not wake up again. So, you know, sometimes we have to live by our own life, you know, consequences. And hopefully it doesn't come to that point for you. Hopefully you can actually really consider about this conversation, and hopefully you can think about some things before you make that decision that just might cost you your life.
Wow, it's a good place to finish it, to end it. And I do want to make a note that you did say earlier, it's important that we talk to youth while they are malleable, when they're young at 10, 11, 12. I think it's like, because you said, no one has ever really spoke to me and told me how to live a better life. But I think as a society, or everyone who can talk to a youth who's in that vulnerable position, maybe we should take it upon ourselves to say, I get it, that's your situation at home, I get it and I understand, but let me teach you better. Because that point you just made, that when you said no one spoke to me, it's kind of like, why do we have to wait for the dad to say it? Why do we have to wait for a mom to say it? If you can help someone in that moment and you can see that they could be helped, maybe step up and that be the mentor to the individual.
Yeah, 100%. And I think also somebody that might come from a really good home, that has a great mom and dad, and life happens, and you know, parents work, and you know, you vacation and you do this and you do that, but to actually take the time to see really what your teenager's up to be able to sit down and talk with them openly, whether they're going to smoke weed or drink once in a while, because we all try that and go through that stage, but just to be more conscious and more aware of, like, you know, when your son comes home with a brand new car and he doesn't have a job, maybe it's things like that you need to question and ask, you know, where is he getting the money for these things? And when people are coming in and out of your home, like, who are these guys and who is this and how come I've never met this? And ask questions and just be more mindful about what your kids are doing when you're out on, you know, on a dinner date or something. And I think that's one of the biggest things is you know, sometimes you know, it's better to catch, you know, your kids at that age rather than in 15 years down the road when sometimes, it can just be too late.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Good to see
having
you
me. I
again.
appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
Nice to
Sunny.
meet you. Thank you so
Absolutely,
much.
Sonny.